Okay, so today is going to be a bit of a video. I have a few in my mind. This time around, one of the thoughts I had was down to comparison and how useful or harmful comparison actually is. Now, one of the big things we hear is that comparison is the thief of joy. And to be honest, I'm not going to lie, like 88% of the time, I agree. In the long run, comparing yourself to other people, it's not really the best thing to do. But at the same time, like when I think about it, I try to like break it back down to first principle. And I'm like, why would we say that comparison is such a big thief to joy? And is it true that comparison as a whole, 100%, just cannot give us any form of benefit whatsoever? And I just wanted to have this video for like number one, just to get my thoughts out into the air and just to pass time. And also number two, just to give that information and my look into it and just give an honest reflection and honest opinion as to why I think about comparison and what it has meant for my life. For context, I just finished high school like a couple of months ago. So that's always the big first step, guys. If you're listening to people online, if they've at least finished high school, then our opinions do hold some weight. Not a lot of weight, probably like 5%, but it's better than someone who hasn't finished high school. But jokes, of course. I mean, the degree of the person or the background of the person 9 times out of 10 when we break it down doesn't necessarily mean the information is 100% true or not. It's just really good for us to look at things like that to see how like helpful information is. But anyways, we're talking about comparison. Now, what I bring up, and I aim this mainly at people who might resonate from the advice, is that comparison, I think, is actually pretty important in some cases for us to reach beyond our current expectations and limits. Because I know that for me, comparison is pretty important for me to like improve my general like performance and academic success in high school. Because if I had no one to compare myself to who was better than me, it would have been really, really difficult for me to do really well in high school. And the reason why I say this was because I went to like such a certain high school where there was really like only like one person at the top consistently aside from myself. And one of the big pushers, especially like there were some nights where like you think about, I have so much homework and I don't know if I'm going to do all of this homework. But then there were nights where I would remember that, oh, but if I'm going to be number one in like my grade, I need to kind of do this and I need to study like extra because I know this other person is doing it. And I really don't want to lose to this person. So I think in examples like that, I feel like comparison is pretty big and important. And that's not only the only part of my life where I feel like I've benefited from comparison. Another one would be the game I'm playing right now in Rocket League, right? Especially like early 2023 when I was really getting into the game and like just started playing and taking it seriously. Rocket League became super duper important to me to the point where like I was watching videos, watching the pros, like watching RLCS, and I was like, I will hope that one day I'm going to be able to do this. And for me, I liken that factor to the fact that if I never saw pro gameplay, I would have never been able to imagine and realize that, oh, it is possible to air dribble. I can't air dribble, but I know that at some point I'm going to be able to learn how to air dribble and might get really good at the game, might even turn out to get to SSL proper. Or even just regular, just dribbling and controlling the ball on top of your car. Like, if I didn't see people do that online and compare my skill set to be like, well, I can't do that with the ball on top of my car. If I didn't see people do that, I would have been like, you know, so long as I just hit the ball and fly up to it, like that's perfectly fine by me. So I think in those degrees, like comparison can be pretty helpful and pretty useful, or at least in my sense. I think it just turned out that I was one of the people who just ended up using comparison for good. I took that energy, that like sense of jealousy, that sense of like, oh, I can't do what he's doing, and I tried to turn it into good to be like, okay, let me do something about that. Let me try to work and improve on that. The big issue, though, that I found with comparison was that to some extent, you kind of get diminishing returns from it. Because to be honest, in the long term, if you're always comparing yourself to something to say that, oh, I can't do what this person does, or I can't be what this person is, then you set yourself into a trap. I'm sorry, I just got distracted because my friend actually invited me. I didn't expect him to invite me. So I guess you guys are gonna see like in-game gameplay. But as I was saying, like if you always compare yourself to someone who can do something that you can't do, and you do this every single day, it's going to add up. Because even when you make progress on things, the truth of the matter is, you're never going to go from absolute noob to level 100 at a skill in like one day. But the problem is, right? Despite you making progress by one level every single day, now every time you make progress, it's going to go under the radar because it's going to be that thing of, oh, I still can't do it as good as this guy can do it. And the problem with comparison is that that's always going to be true until you end up reaching that level. And there's the risk that even though you might end up getting really good at a skill, like super, super duper good, you may still end up being like, ah, but it took me so long to get here. Or chances are you find someone even better than you at that skill, and you're like, ah, well, whoa, I guess I'm not as good as I think I was, or now I have someone else to like catch up to. So in that case, right, I think when comparison gets to that point, I'm just gonna tell my friend I'm recording a voiceover, but for a video. But when it gets to that point, you never really win with yourself, and you can never really track progress. So when it comes to that note and how bad comparison can be, I say take it with care and take it with caution, especially if you're a young person. Because I feel like when we're young, especially when we're in around the high school and we care about academics a lot, it's very easy for us to compare ourselves to other people because we're also like, we realize one day, which is the painful part about academics, that, oh, the people I'm comparing myself to, same grade and everything, I'm going to compete with these people, like in a lot of cases, like when I'm trying to get a job or get into the university I want, because my university is not going to take everyone and everything, right? So I need to be better than these people. So I know that if I'm better than these people, I'm going to stand a really good chance to get into one of those top tier universities. So to that extent, I can understand why like comparison is such a big thing. But at the same time, guys, in the long run, don't compare too often. Or if you're going to compare yourself to someone, which is a nice middle ground that I felt was like neat and everything, compare yourself to a past version of yourself. Because at that point, you're always going to be better than, well, in most cases, you're always going to be better than what you were like a few days ago, right? I think that's always going to be the case. There's always going to be something you improve at day by day. So if you compare yourself to be like, oh, I got better at this, I'm better at this than I was yesterday, then that is a really good comparison to make. Because number one, it's more positive. You're comparing yourself to someone that reasonably I think is the most fair person to compare yourself with, which is yourself from a previous day. And you can be honest and tell yourself, I'm better because yeah, I can tell I couldn't do it this well yesterday. So I'm therefore better at it today. And also, you can genuinely tell yourself that if you so happen to not be better today, you are the one who knows why that is the case this time around. So that's also another really nice thing about comparison itself. And even for me, it just ended up being a lot healthier because again, like remember like earlier I talked about how like I would just like push myself to study because I was like, oh, like if I'm gonna win valedictorian at my school, I need to study because I know the other person is doing it. When I compared with myself, I was like, okay, yesterday like I would have been the type of person to not study like for 0 minutes, but I know today I can do it. I can do it for like 10 minutes, and that's better than nothing. And the fact that I've changed into someone like that, that's really endearing and that's really promising. And then it becomes even easier for me to like put in like an hour long study session or not put so many expectations on myself over like, I have to be this good. I have to be this much better. Cause yeah, hang on. Can I score? Nice. Cause yeah, like, I don't know what I would put like the closing line for this video, but I think one thing I will definitely say, um, like be careful with what you compare yourself with. I do genuinely think that comparison has its merits, but I have a better understanding as to why like 80% of the time we say comparison is the thief of joy. Because it really is. It really steals away your ability to like reward yourself and congratulate yourself for your own progress, which we really should. Making progress is very tough and intentional. That's not something that you can just do lightly. So whenever you do make progress, you should definitely like reward yourself for it. Oh, nice pass from my teammate there, and he slaps that in. Okay, so I'm gonna end the video here. I'm gonna give you guys this last 2 minutes of like gameplay if you guys want to stick around, because that as I'm done saying what I wanted to say. The tagline is, guys, don't compare too much. If you're gonna compare yourself to someone, compare yourself to yourself and live life. Honestly, I don't know what I'm gonna talk about next time, but I know it's going to be something that's gonna high key be on my mind. So until then, I'll see you. Trust you with that. Yes.